Welcome to the Feel Your Best Formula podcast. Are you over 40 and tired of struggling with your weight, dieting, and constantly feeling like you're starting over with nutrition and fitness? Do you wish you had more energy? Do you want to lose weight and finally keep it off for good? I'm Lil, a certified nutrition coach and former registered nurse. I too have been there, and at the age of 44, I decided I was done with fad diets and chasing a lower number on the scale. I was so tired of constantly starting over and wondering why I couldn't get lasting results. I became a nutrition coach and created the Feel Your Best formula for women who want to build muscle, lose fat, and keep it off for good. If you're ready to build a better relationship with food, the scale, and your body, let's build your formula for feeling your best. If you're new here, make sure to check the episode details for the link to my newbie starter guide. You'll receive an email straight to your inbox with everything you need to start building your Feel Your Best formula. I'm so glad you're here. Now let's dive into today's episode. Hello. Here we are, episode 29 of the Feel Your Best Formula podcast. I'm Lil, and today we are going to be diving into a really important topic. Like, this could possibly be the most important topic that we cover on this podcast because it affects so many of you. And when it comes to deciding what to discuss on the podcast, most of the time I am just pulling directly from the conversations I'm having with my one-to-one clients or questions I'm getting on social media or from my email newsletter. And this 100% is the number one thing that you have to figure out before you even attempt to reach your goal weight or get results. And so many times we don't even realize it. You don't even realize that you have to address this first before you can move on. And you're already so worried about that end result and getting that end result that you don't know that you need to take the time to fix your relationship with food. And that's what we're talking about today. Is your relationship with food sabotaging your weight loss goals? And most likely it is. I'm going to say for the vast majority of you listening to this, your relationship with food is standing in the way of you finally loving your body, having a realistic view of what a truly healthy lifestyle looks like, what your goal body looks like, and it's keeping you from being able to maintain the results. I'm guessing that you have had quote unquote success in the past with weight loss, with diets, and you've reached your goal weight. Or you've gotten really, really close. And then what happened? You just could not maintain it. And that's because of a variety of factors, but ultimately it's because of your relationship with food and you not even understanding how food works in your body. If you haven't already, I definitely recommend subscribing to my Demystifying Macros private podcast series, just a little mini podcast series of 5 little episodes where I go over how food works in your body and how macros work. But above and beyond that, we need to talk about the mindset side of things and how this all works. So when it comes to working with my one-to-one clients, for the vast majority, we do not jump right into weight loss. We take the time to work through this. And it's hard. I know you want to, I know you feel like when you start a new nutrition plan, I know you feel like you should just immediately jump into weight loss and like, hey, what is even the point of doing this if I'm not going to lose 10 pounds in a few weeks? Like, what is even the point? And you can go and listen to episode 26 for a deeper discussion on how to even know you're ready for a fat loss or weight loss phase, because I go into things in more detail there. But today we're going to dive into the number one reason why you are not ready for a fat loss phase. And it's because you have a really messy relationship with food. And I'm including myself in here because I have absolutely struggled with my relationship with food. It is absolutely the reason why I struggled so much in the past. If you take a messy relationship with food and fad dieting, restrictive dieting, you get this just big mess where, yeah, you can feel like you're doing things right for a while. You can feel like you're getting results, but they don't actually work because you cannot maintain them. And that is number one, maintenance is the biggest thing I want to teach you how to do. When you work with me as a one-to-one client, my ultimate goal is that you never have to go on another diet again, that you understand how to maintain those results that you work so hard for. And it is the number one thing that is lacking in the diet industry, because why don't they want you to figure that out? I mean, take one guess. They want you coming back for more. They want you spending more money. And if you figure it out, then you're not going to be spending any more money on diets. So we all have our own unique relationship with food. We have so many thoughts and beliefs from our childhood and our formative years, all these different messages from all these different avenues, whether it's family, whether it's the media, whether it's people at the gym, whether it's, instructors at your gym, whether it's people who are actually qualified to give you information or people just giving you their opinions. I'm part of a couple different health and wellness focused Facebook groups, and good Lord, the advice I see in there is horrible. Someone will ask a question, say, oh, I'm not getting results. What is the solution? How do I get the results that I want? And every Tom, Dick, and Harry is chiming in with their 2 cents. And like 80 to 90% of the advice being given is just absolutely horrible. It's things like, you need to cut out all sugar. You need to cut out all dairy. You need to cut out all carbs. You need to eat 1,200 calories a day. And then there'll be a few gems, a few diamonds in the rough of someone actually giving genuine advice. But that person asking the question may not recognize that the information that is the truth, the actual answer to their question, is what they should be listening to. So they're getting all these different messages, and I'm sure you are too. And out there's messages that completely contradict one another. You could have one person saying you should not eat meat or any animal products of any kind, and now you have these weirdo carnivores who tell you you should not eat anything other than meat. And they're both telling you that theirs is the way to go. And here on this podcast, we like to have a rational, reasonable discussion because we live in the real world. We don't live in extremes. And here it's all about figuring out your formula for success. And part of that formula is fixing your relationship with food. So whether you're holding on to some thoughts and beliefs from maybe a family member commenting on your food choices or commenting on your body, maybe you watched a parent, your mother, diet constantly and constantly be obsessed with losing weight, we carry a ton of baggage with us when it comes to how we eat, how we view food, and ultimately how our food choices make us feel both physically and mentally. It would be impossible for me to cover all the different ways your childhood and formative years can impact your relationship with food, but ultimately you have your unique experience that has led you to where you are right now listening to this podcast. And if right now in the back of your mind you're thinking, I want or I need to lose 10 pounds, 20 pounds, 30 pounds, whatever it is, and that is your main focus when you're thinking about building healthy habits, I want you to ask yourself, why have your other attempts at reaching this goal failed you in the past? Why are you back here again asking yourself how to lose 10 pounds, 20 pounds, whatever? Because if it did work for you, you wouldn't be sitting here right now feeling pressured to lose the weight, getting back to the same place over and over and over. Because when something actually works, you don't need to go back and keep trying to fix the same problem, right? So why did that last diet not work? Why did you fall off track? Why were you unable to maintain what you felt were healthy habits? Why were you not able to maintain it during times of stress? Now, maybe something happened in your life where all of a sudden things got really busy, something needed your attention and focus that you were not anticipating. Here's the thing about truly healthy habits. They are maintainable pretty much throughout whatever, life throws at you. And I'm not trying to sugarcoat it or be oblivious. I don't know what would be the best way to describe it, but I just got over a broken ankle. Yeah. Was I able to work out? No. Things happen like that, but I was still able to eat the way that I wanted. I was able to try to move as best I could, and that was just a temporarily stop to my healthy habits, and I was constantly looking for ways to slowly ease back into what I consider my normal routine. So you want to be building habits that you're eager to get back to, that are easy for you to maintain in pretty much any situation. And it sounds really simple, but it isn't easy. And when it comes to your relationship with food and creating healthy habits around food, it is that disordered relationship that we have with food that can really throw a wrench in things. If you do not have a healthy relationship with food, you do not understand how to eat in a way that nourishes your body and your mind, that you can feel good about. And it's very stressful when you do not have a healthy relationship with food. So let's make sure that we're on the same page here. We're going to talk about some of the hallmark signs of a poor relationship with food. And please know I am not judging you. I've been there, and I still have some of these thoughts and beliefs that I struggle with overcoming. However, there's a huge difference between just letting these thoughts run wild and run automatically in your brain versus intentionally deciding to just examine, stop yourself, hey, why am I thinking this? And is it actually true, this thought that I'm having? So, number one, when you eat certain foods like candy or ice cream or chips or pizza, foods that we typically have been taught are junk foods or are bad for you, when you eat those foods, do you then beat yourself up, feel ashamed, and say, I am bad. I am bad because these foods are bad? Do you take that moral judgment and put it on yourself for eating a food that in your mind you think is bad for you? Number two, do you eat certain foods in secret and don't want people to know that you actually eat those foods? Are you ashamed to eat those foods in front of other people? Number three, do you feel proud of yourself when you can successfully restrict? Do you feel like it's a good thing when you skip a meal or you get to the end of your day and know that you really didn't eat a lot of food that day? Or if you are tracking your food in some way, do you consider it a good day when you are under in your calories or food consumption for that day compared to what you were originally aiming for? Do you view less as being good? Number four, do you look forward to certain situations? This is an interesting one. Do you look forward to certain situations where you know there's going to be limited food choices and you're gonna get to eat those foods that normally you think are bad for you. And you're almost relieved because you really want to enjoy those foods. And you know that there aren't going to be any other choices. You're not going to be able to order a salad or a wrap or something. You're going to have to get a burger and fries because that's going to be one of the only options there. Do you actually look forward to those moments because it kind of takes the pressure off you of feeling like you should be eating a certain way? Okay, number 5. You are either on a diet or you are not on a diet, and there is like no in between. When you're on a diet, you're very rigid, and when you're off the diet, you just eat whatever you want. You might still prioritize, eating salads and having vegetables and lean proteins, similar foods that you eat when you're all in on a diet, but it's either all in or all out. And in the back of your mind, you associate those times when you're on a diet with, oh, this is when I'm being healthy. This is when I'm on a health kick. And this can also fall into a pattern of restricting during the week and eating, quote, clean, or following very specific rules during the week. And then on the weekend, just all bets are off. You're just eating whatever the heck you feel like eating. You're drinking your alcohol and cocktails and beer and having pizza. And you're like, well, I am so, quote unquote, good during the week that I can kind of let loose on the weekend and it will all even itself out. And I'm just going to say, if you're going hog wild on the weekends, it's probably not evening itself out. And if you're wondering why you've been gaining weight, that's a big reason why a lot of people gain weight. Very restrictive during the week, and then pretending that they're not consuming as much as they are actually on the weekend. In number 6, this could be you, that the number on the scale easily influences your entire mood in other areas of your life. If the scale is up, it creates a cascade of negative emotions. If the scale is down, you feel proud, and you associate the number on the scale only with the foods that you're eating and whether or not it's making you fat. That's your thing. Oh, the scale went up, I must be fat. The scale went down, I must have lost some fat. And you're not really seeing the scale for what it is and how there are many factors that influence the way the scale goes up and down. And in particular, it can just change your whole mood, and you have a really disordered relationship with how you view stepping on the scale. And that is related to your relationship with food. Number 7, you might be afraid to include certain foods in your day-to-day life because you think they're going to make you fat. You think they're going to make you, they're bad. These are those junk foods, bad foods, or just simple things like condiments, mayonnaise, sour cream, ketchup, bread, butter, crackers, cheese, salad dressings, things like that. I know that this was a huge one for me because I was following these diet plans that were like, oh, any salad dressing you have, you better be making that from scratch. Oh, you cannot be having mayonnaise, you better be having Greek yogurt. And even being afraid of things that were made of wheat flour, and instead, for some reason, almond flour is supposed to be better for me. So disordered, and really messing with your perception of how foods really work in your body, and demonizing foods like gluten, wheat, that you don't need to demonize those things. Once you understand the macronutrient and micronutrient makeup of your foods, you just come to understand that having arbitrary food rules like that, all they do is complicate your life. And cutting those foods out, I mean, it's not going to lead to a long-term way of eating that you can sustain. Number 9, this is a big one. But if you feel like you've been gaining weight and you're like, it's really unfair and I don't know why the scale just keeps going up, and you feel like you deserve to have the scale go down or at least stay the same, but you're not actually tracking your food. You're afraid to really get honest and investigate what exactly you're eating. and you're kind of eating mindlessly. You're probably having maybe some extra drinks and things like that. And you're not doing anything to really investigate or honestly examine what your daily energy balance looks like. That means the foods that you're eating and the activity level that you're living in your daily life. And you just feel like the scale just keeps going up. You don't feel like you're doing anything that's causing it, and it's just mysteriously going up, and you're frustrated and maybe even a little bit angry. And at the same time, you're not really taking the time to investigate why this is happening. And you might be avoiding really getting honest about your food because you have an unhealthy relationship with your food. So I want to be clear that these thoughts and behaviors are part of many of our lives. You may have thought yes to some of those. Maybe you thought yes to all of them. Maybe you just thought, yes, that's me, to one of them. But these are different ways that our messed up relationship with food can affect our daily lives. There are absolutely actual eating disorders, of course, anorexia, bulimia, binge eating disorder. And when someone has those issues, they definitely need to get mental health support. In general, many of us just struggle with many of these things because we just have a messed up relationship with food, and we are perfectly capable of improving that relationship with food through getting the knowledge that we need, educating ourselves on how food actually works in our body, how it affects weight loss, weight gain, how we can build muscle, how we can lose fat. Once we actually understand how that works, we don't have to be afraid of our relationship with food anymore, because it just simply becomes a choice. So I have a question for you. If you do not have a good relationship with food, when I went through those 9 things, and if you said yes to even one of them, how on earth are you going to lose weight and keep it off if you don't fix this? How can you fix it when you have all these messed up emotions, thoughts, and habits around food that, again, is not your fault? I'm a big believer, though, that once you have an awareness that there isn't a problem, it is your responsibility to fix it. Are you willing to put in the time and effort to create a truly healthy lifestyle, even if it doesn't get you rapid results? I know as a society, we are obsessed with rapid results. We want to DoorDash our results. We want to just immediately snap our fingers and have exactly what we want without necessarily putting in the effort, but more so, we don't have the patience. We want things immediately. Are you willing to put in 3 months, 6 months, a year, 2 years of building habits that will then last the rest of your life so you can finally stop yo-yoing? Or do you just want to keep chasing the same thing? Oh, I need to lose weight. I need to lose weight. I need to lose weight, without addressing this underlying issue with your relationship with food? Do you want to feel like you probably feel like you should always be on a diet? That is, I would say, a lot of women just constantly feel like I should be on a diet. I should be doing something. And it's like this black cloud that follows you around. And I'm telling you, the diet industry, they want you to have a terrible relationship with food. They want you to continue to be confused about nutrition. They don't want you to understand energy balance, and they really don't want you to have a pragmatic, controlled approach to your decisions around food choices. They don't want you to find something that means you don't ever have to buy another diet or diet book or weight loss program again. Bottom line, they don't want you to be empowered with a solution. They want you to keep coming back for more. And I was in that cycle for decades. And you don't even know that you're in that cycle. You think there's something wrong with you, but all that you're doing is responding to the environment and the messages that you have been given. The longer you neglect to repair your relationship with food, the longer it's going to take to truly find happiness with your body. Constantly chasing fat loss without working on your relationship with food is going to get you nowhere. You can keep losing and gaining the same weight over and over again. Or this time you can take that motivation that you're feeling. Like, you must be motivated to make some sort of change if you're listening to this podcast. And take that motivation and actually do something different this time. Don't just go chasing that fat loss. This is exactly why I have a step-by-step process for my clients to take when it comes to macros. And I'll tell you, not everyone is willing to do this. A lot of people want to just sign up for a nutrition plan and they just want to lose the weight and they don't want to take the time to nourish their body, figure out their relationship with food, and how to just have a daily life where you feel good about the food you eat. Not everyone is willing to do that. It's about creating habits and routines that match your willingness for change and then building on your successes. It doesn't mean you're going to snap your fingers and having it all figured out. Everyone's timeline is going to be a little different, but it is so exciting when you finally realize, if I focus on this, I can finally have that. And it would be impossible to individually guide you just as a podcast listener. That's what my one-to-one coaching is for. That's where we work on an individual basis. But my hope is that after listening to this episode, you start to see that maybe you are not the problem, that there's nothing wrong with you if all your past attempts at dieting have not worked. It's simply that you were jumping the gun, you were skipping straight to a weight loss plan, which is what you were told you should do. And in reality, taking the time to build foundational habits, improving that relationship with food without the added stress of trying to lose weight on top of it might actually be the better approach. And this is exactly what I do for my one-to-one clients who need it. Not all of my clients do. I have 2 clients right now that had a really great relationship with food, and they were like, Lil, just give me the plan, let's go. And that's because that was appropriate for them. But until you're ready to do this work, honestly, you're just going to keep spinning your wheels and ending up right back where you started. And to me, that just feels like the biggest waste of time and energy. I really hope that this episode helped. Every time we talk on this episode and you listen to an episode on this podcast, I'm just hoping to maybe help you think about things differently, because when you continue to think about things the same way, you continue to take the same approach. And yeah, you could try keto, you could try intermittent fasting, you could try paleo, like whatever all the diets are. Ultimately, you're still trying to get the same result. You're still trying to lose weight, but you're not taking the time to build that healthy relationship with food. And it's just simply trying a different way to get the same result. So it's time to think about things differently. If you're interested in learning more about my one-to-one coaching, I do have a link in the episode details where you can book a 15-minute consultation where we could discuss if my coaching is the right next step for you. But that's it for today's episode. I'm really glad you tuned in. I'm really curious to hear your feedback and hear, did this make you think twice about what your next step might be? And are you thinking just a little bit differently? All right, that is it for today's episode, and I really hope that you can walk away with just feeling slightly more empowered, even if it just means thinking of things a little bit differently. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode of the Feel Your Best Formula podcast. If you haven't already, make sure to check the episode details for my new listener starter guide, and any additional resources mentioned in the episode can also be found in the show notes on my website. You can always find me on Instagram at Macros with Lil, and for more healthy lifestyle tips, recipes, and information on my one-to-one and group coaching services, make sure to check out my website. All the links can be found below. If you know someone else who is ready to start building their formula for feeling their best, please share the love and send them a link to the podcast. I hope you found today's episode helpful, and I'll see you back here next week for a brand new one.